From annotations to artifacts. Practically everybody already used a highlighter, maybe for marking some important text in a research paper or on a post-it to remember the milk. Virtually anybody has been jotting down notes and doodling in the sidebar of a book. That also happened to Pierre de Fermat back in 1637. It's a true story that finally became famous as Fermat's last theorem. While reading his copy of Diophantus Arithmetica, he came across an interesting problem. In fact, Fermat found a proof that he wanted the world to know, and that he liked to write down in the rather small margin. Unfortunately, Fermat's original annotation was lost with his copy of the Arithmetica. However, his son created a new edition of the book, augmented with his father's comments. They read, "It is impossible to separate a cube into two cubes, or a fourth power into two fourth powers, or, in general, any power higher than the second into two like powers. I have discovered a truly marvelous proof of this, which this margin is too narrow to contain." It's a real pity that Fermat couldn't find back his computer on that very day. Otherwise, he could have relied on the annotation capabilities built into several applications. There you can highlight parts of the text, you can also draw rectangles and ovals, and you can even attach notes. The locations in the documents where annotations are defined on are called anchor points. Word documents are another example providing built-in support for annotations. As part of the tracking and reviewing feature, it's for instance also possible to add comments. The anchor point is highlighted in this case. Creating annotations is great already. However, there is a severe limitation. What if you want to create an annotation across multiple documents? Even the pen and paper kind of annotation falls short in this respect. Imagine you want to be like Walt Disney, having such a successful company, authoring such fantastic comic strips like the famous Mickey Mouse. How could you capture that? Physically attaching a post-it, capturing your thoughts like this? Well, maybe not a really good idea in the long run. But what about electronic documents? Yes, of course, you might say. The web to the rescue. There are hyperlinks you can include in HTML pages, links to other content. Click on them and your browser will happily bring you across. Clicking on a hyperlink might either navigate to another page in the same window, or sometimes also open a fresh browser window or tab. Such hyperlinks are not restricted to web pages, in fact. They can also point to PDF documents, for example. And it's even possible to embed hyperlinks within a PDF, somehow closing the circle. But wait, there's still something important missing. Recall the Walt Disney example discussed a few seconds ago? What about the annotations across the three documents? How to capture this one? For simplicity's sake, let's assume we could use annotations for each of the three documents involved. The Disney webpage, a Word document holding the Mickey Mouse cartoon, and the PDF ebook. With the off-the-shelf toolset, we could now use hyperlinks to create links between all documents. But what to do with the annotation? Where to attach them? Well, it's somehow similar trouble as with the pen and paper example. Finally, there are annotations containing the hyperlinks in each of the three documents, separately. Not good. What we really need is this. We need to make annotations first-class citizens, with their own individual and independent life. And that finally brings us to what we call an artifact. An albeit quite informal definition is an annotation defined on multiple anchor points, capturing relationships across documents while preserving the context. Oof, that's quite a mouthful. We utterly need a concrete example, which is also going to illustrate that context thing. Okay, imagine a student. Yes, exactly that one. He's got a lab assignment in his operating system class. Here's the exercise sheet. The task is to implement the world-famous dining philosopher's problem. And here he goes, implementing like a pro. Then he's testing, and reality strikes. From time to time there's a deadlock. So our student wants to communicate his trouble to his fellows. They will certainly be happy to help him, again. So he takes a screenshot from the deadlock and creates an annotation. And finally he produced an artifact, referring to the anchor points within the other three documents, the task description in the exercise sheet, the section of the code he suspects to be faulty, and a trace run of his implementation. Well, that's also an example of that context preservation thing. The anchor points are an integral part of the artifact. When opening an artifact, that context will be restored. There's another screencast showing how to browse and interact with artifacts. There you're gonna see that live. Okay, so let's wrap up. An artifact is an annotation defined on multiple anchor points, capturing relationships across multiple documents while preserving the context. And that's it. Thank you for watching.